Book club's back. Cathy, Kirsten, and I read a book called The French Exit. I liked it. Kirsten didn't. Cathy thought it was okay. It was a good conversation, though. I thought it was a good, quick read. Interesting characters. Story I hadn't heard before. So, I don't know. It was cool. It was a good conversation. We also end up talking about college applications and that process, about books that maybe meant something to us for our whole lives. Maybe we're going to book club one of those books that, just moves from house to house with you. You never can seem to get rid of, like, forever. So we're going to book club one of those books at some point. Our next book club book for January is Carrie by Stephen King. We're going to read horror as our genre, and I was a huge Stephen King fan, as was Cathy. So we're going to revisit a little Stephen King. After the warm fuzzies of the holiday, you can pick up some horror. Thank you for coming back every week. Thank you. Oh my God, I got so many emails about the romance novel and from my podcast with Bert and Steven. I really appreciate all your emails, and any of those positive emails that you sent me for Bert and Steven, I passed along to them, and they were very, very grateful. So thank you for all your feedback in both of those podcast episodes. Thank you for coming back every week. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You can go to wifeotp.com and send me an email. You can check me out on Instagram, L. Kreischer. And thank you so much for coming back every month. I hope you enjoy this episode, this book club, where we talk about The French Exit. I'm having a floater in my eye.
That's
annoying. Do you ever have that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
No idea.
It looks like, it feels like I have a black string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a vitamin deficiency? Is it an infection?
I don't know. I feel like it comes and it goes away on its own, so you never really know what it is.
But
it
day
can
two.
be like a part,
really?
like a headache. It can be like a form of a headache, too.
Huh.
It's driving me nuts because it moves when I move my eyeball. So I'm like, it's making me crazy. How are you on this rainy day? We're all in our socks.
Yeah.
I know.
Right?
Rain boots. And
I got my big bird socks on. What do you think?
Very nice.
Cute.
Very nice.
Super cute. I like your sweater. It's nice.
Thank you. I just got it. We have this shopping party every year with Jenny at Verona. And I got there early because I was going to go to the Crystal Shop, which is next door, and shop for the girls. But the Crystal Shop was closed. Mm-hmm. So the shop on the very corner was open. So I was like, I don't want to be too early for Jenny. And there was something in the window I thought my mother-in-law would like for Christmas. So I went in, ended up buying the thing for my mother-in-law. I bought this sweater too. And I bought myself a leather jacket because I'm going to Bruno Mars. And I needed it to be like
Nice.
a badass rocker. No, I've been wanting a leather jacket forever. And Bert bought me one. And I don't like it in that it has one of those big, wide collars. Like if it were a sweater, it would be like a scarf collar, but it's leather. So the chest is one of the broadest, thickest, widest parts of my body. So when I put it on, I look like a linebacker. It's a great jacket.
Yeah, that's why that sort of thing worked so well on Michael Jackson because, flat chested, thin, and the broadness is like appealing.
Yeah.
I get it.
For big boob people, it's just like the whole jacket entered the room before I did. So I'd put it on and I just kept wanting it to work because he gave it to me, and it's really soft, and it's got like, it's not all leather. Part of it is like stretchy. So it's super comfortable. It's not confining. And then I look in the mirror and I go, I look like the broadside of a barn. I just look so wide. So I found this jacket and I loved it. I bought it on the corner store anyway. It's raining in California.
It's not just raining.
It
it's
is,
like really raining. The 101 is totally flooded on one side. There were, that's why it took me so long to get Camille to school this morning.
Gosh.
And I mean, beyond flooded, like it would be up to the doors.
Wow.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yay, because we need the water, but for this
that's
day,
almost too much too fast.
Exactly.
Right.
Like our
You know what I mean?
infrastructure
Like, it's
is
just
does not support this.
no, that's accurate.
That's very true.
This much rain happens in Georgia quite often, but it's just, we have ditches everywhere. Everybody's got a ditch everywhere.
Exactly. In
Yeah,
Canada,
just
we're prepared for snow,
Yeah.
rain,
Yeah.
like elements, but here we're just not prepared for any of it. It's not just like, I think a lot of the time it's like people aren't prepared. It's like, no, like literally the entire system is not prepared. Like we don't have sewers. Like we don't have.
Or they're
like-
full of leaves.
Yeah.
Like anytime there's any drainage, it's like covered. So it doesn't matter that you have any drainage
Yeah.
anyway.
Totally.
So
Well,
yeah.
we've had this pop-up tent since Bert's 40th birthday. I bought a pop-up tent. Well, he's 49, so we've had it 9 years. I have an emotional attachment to this pop-up tent. It's been to the beach. It's been at every birthday party. It's been a lot of camping trips. And it bit the dust last night. It was on our back porch, and I woke up this morning, and it's just like twisted. And I was like, no, not the pop-up tent. It's like part of the family. And
Last night was dicey though. There was a lot of wind, a lot of rain. So
And last night
Not
I was like,
shocking.
I should put that tent down. And I just couldn't get myself to do it. And I should have. I lost a family member, guys.
R.I.P. pop-up tent.
R.I.P. pop-up tent. Well, the good and the bad about it really is that Izzy, our dog, does not do rain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I have one of
I,
those.
mine too.
Yeah.
So I caught her twice trying to pee on a rug in the house. And I'm like, no. So she stuck her head out, one drop on her head, and she's shaking her head like it's been a flood. It took me forever to get her to go outside this morning and use the bathroom. And then dumb old Mac's like, oh, is it raining? I didn't even notice. I'm just going to pee anyway.
Yeah. Mine still haven't gone out.
No.
Yeah, mine hasn't either.
Pepper will hold it for like a good 19, 20 hours. Like, I'm not kidding. But I mean, in defense of her, she's like, this tall. She's teeny tiny. So like the rain comes up
Yes.
to her armpits.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound appealing to me either.
No, for sure not. But Izzy does not have that excuse. She's just a wuss. When she was a puppy, the hardest potty training moment was in the rain. I could not get her. I stood outside in the rain with her for like 45 minutes one night going, you will not go back in the house till you pee. Because she was so little. I mean, I had the pop-up tent. We were under the
Yeah.
pop-up tent. I was
Oh.
like, you can pee under the pop-up tent. I wasn't standing in the pouring rain. She was covered.
Mostly
She
dry.
couldn't do it. Too anxiety producing for her. Why does everyone in my house have anxiety except me and the cat?
It's because it's contagious.
Is it?
It might
Yeah,
be.
it really
Yeah.
is.
Well, the cat and I have some good immune systems because we have not caught it. Everybody. Mac's not really anxious either, I don't think. Not yet. But Izzy's super anxious. And Mona's just old. But anyway. Should we talk about this book?
Must we?
I can't wait to talk about it with you because then we may not agree on this book for once.
Great.
So the book is French Exit.
French Exit
I've left my book in the house. So hold it up to the camera, Cathy. French Exit
by Patrick DeWitt.
by Patrick DeWitt.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what you don't want to talk about. Oh my God.
Well, okay, this is what I don't want to talk about. As I get closer to finishing my book, I have huge respect for everyone who has written a book, and this has been well reviewed. So, disclaimer, don't listen to me. This is just 100%, this is my opinion. I did not like it. I listened to it. I told you, like, I was like, I'm getting this on audio because I do not have time to read right now. And I listened to it on audio and I thought, well, maybe I hated it because of the reader.
Uh-huh.
Because the reader, she was a good actress. I think that, not to diss her, but then when I was like, wait a minute, they made a movie out of this and Michelle Pfeiffer starred as this woman.
Mhm.
The reader to me was like an elderly woman. Like it sounded like she sounded like a very old voice. And I was like, and then they'd mention how beautiful the main character is. And I was like, oh, she just seems like a little old gray-haired lady to me. And so I ended up watching some of the movie too.
Oh, yeah?
After I finished the book, because I did not like the book. And I got 40 minutes in and was like, I am not enjoying this anymore than I enjoyed the book. Even though it was a very different experience with Michelle Pfeiffer, it's like, okay, I get that she's a beautiful older woman, but yeah, I just did not click with this humor at all. I didn't find it funny. And it was about, entitled rich people who have lost their money, but they still have enough money to like live large for
a little
while.
For a little while. And I don't know, it just made me think about how I love the show Arrested Development.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom in that is an entitled rich lady who is just horrible to everyone around her and just selfish and horrible. And I just think she's hilarious.
Yeah.
Lucille Bluth. And I did not laugh in this book or in the movie at all. I was like, is this a comedy? Because I just don't get it. I get that it's supposed to be a dark, maybe a satire. It just is not, it did not hit for me at all. It was like 2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. Not 1, but 2 thumbs down. Well, I didn't laugh much either.
I was going to say, it's funny that you say that because I didn't laugh at all either.
Oh, Bert's in the other room.
I thought it was like, is he yelling at me? Like, am I not in the
us.
microphone again?
Right.
But there were points at which I kept saying, I bet this would be funny visually.
Speaking of funny visually, I've been walking around this place naked for the last 15 minutes.
You have?
And I was like, I loved it. I don't have to worry about anyone seeing me.
I told
you. And
you.
I heard Leanne laugh, and I go, oh, she's back here. And then I was coming back to be naked in front of Leanne, and I saw fucking Halston.
Oh, thank God.
Poor Halston.
Well, I told you I had a 9:30 podcast. Oh, geez. Well, you're welcome that he did not
Poor
come here
Halston.
naked. Boy, that would have been an episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sure would have.
Right? Woohoo! Talk about a romance novel follow-up.
Exactly. Wrong episode. Like,
So you were saying you could see how this would be funny visually.
There were times where like I would read and I'd be like, oh, like I know this is supposed to be funny and I bet the movie is funny. Like I could see this being funny on screen, but maybe not.
not my experience. But again, I only
don't know.
watched 40 minutes of it, but
Well, I think you can kind of get the gist of it after
definitely
40
got the
minutes.
flavor.
If you're not laughing 40 minutes in,
at all.
the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
I can't say that I absolutely love the book, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. And I completely know what you're saying about privileged, serious white people problems, like big time, beyond white people problems. But I don't know. I found it, I haven't read a story like this before. I didn't really find it funny, but I found it quirky and unique. And I liked that. And I knew where it was going from the beginning. I knew what the end would be. I was curious to know how we were going to get there and how it would happen. And I thought it was a very simple, straight line, sort of. And I actually kind of enjoyed that. I don't know why, but I
That's great. Well, you're not alone because it's a national bestseller. It was well reviewed.
Right.
So, I'm in the minority.
well, I wouldn't call it a comedy. I wouldn't even call it a dark comedy. I would
And yet
call
we
it
found it on a comedy list.
Exactly.
Right, that was the whole point. Yeah.
So crazy. So I don't know that we have officially read a comedy because that's not a comedy. To me, that's not a comedy.
Yeah, and I think maybe if I had if it was at a different time of the year and I wasn't like racing around, because I remember I read this right as my class was ending too, so I was like turning in the
super
final
busy.
things and like just frenzy. And I feel like maybe if I had read it at a different time and had managed my expectations more, meanwhile I went into it like comedy. Okay, we're reading a comedy, and it was like, there's nothing about this that's funny.
Right? Well, I think you may be right about whoever read the book on the audiobook, because in my imagination, I already had Michelle Pfeiffer in my imagination, and I didn't think she was the right casting for this role. I didn't think that she was grand enough. Like it needed to be someone as beautiful as Michelle Pfeiffer, but almost like British.
Yeah,
You
or
know?
like a young Holland Taylor.
I don't know who that is.
Or like a Kate Blanchett type,
Yes.
like very beautiful but
Yes.
very regal or something. Like
Yep. Like Kate Blanchett is a perfect, to me, that would have elevated it, because Michelle Pfeiffer just wasn't, in my brain, and I couldn't get her out of my brain. I kept going, who would I replace her with? Let's replace her in my brain, and I couldn't get her replaced.
It was, so the movie was very different. Like she was sort of like kooky when she came to pick him up at boarding school. Like the mom goes to boarding school and all of a sudden shows up. He's 12 years old. She's basically, he's been going to boarding school. She hasn't been very present in his life. All of a sudden she shows up and she's like, come on, I'm taking you out of here. And the boarding school like director is like, you can't just do this. Like there are forms to fill out. There's like a process or whatever. And she's like, oh, I don't want to fill out any forms. And she gets out of there. But it was like in the book, it was more like, well, I don't have to do that. Like it was, to me, the book read more like, well, that's
entitled.
Something. Yeah, she's entitled. That filling out forms is something little people do, like not
Yeah.
me. But in the movie, it was more like, oh, I'm just this kooky lady.
Interesting. Huh. Well, one thing I thought, yeah, I don't know. I thought the characters were unique, not anything I'd read before, or at least in a long time. And I love that they had their cat, and the cat was, and then who the cat ended up being was that was kooky.
Yes.
And then the neighbor in Paris that moved in was kooky, and all these things were very kind of, to me, could possibly really happen. Maybe not the cat part. But the rest of it, I was like, I could see these crazy, kooky people, this really being someone's little slice of life moment where things go sideways and all of a sudden it works out somehow in the end. Because really, what she
that's
did
the
was
part
let
that
Malcolm
is
go.
like a sitcom to me.
What is?
Like that little cast of characters. Like I could totally see that working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a play, like the sort of like British like farce, like the sort of parlor comedies where it's like, what? She did what? Oh, like,
Yes.
and then somebody's having sex and falling over the couch, and
Yep.
just like all this kookiness and craziness ensues. And I think, and it's funny because like there was I was in a play like that. I really enjoyed being in the play. Then we took the kids to see The Drowsy Chaperone years ago. Again, this is a situation where like it won, or at least was nominated for Tonys, maybe won Tonys. Like, so it's officially, people loved it. Everyone else in the theater was laughing uproariously at the kookiness that was going on in this parlor comedy and the romance and the double entendres and everything. My whole family just sat there like, and at intermission, the kids were like, are you guys enjoying this? And meanwhile, it was one of these days where we had hauled the kids out the door and they were like, do we have to go see a play? And I was like, you guys you're so entitled. And you don't realize how lucky you are, what a privilege it is to go see a play with your family. And then I was sitting there going, oh my God, this is horrible.
Right.
Granted, it was also like regional theater, and it was like the ingenue, who probably should have been 20 years old, was definitely at least pushing 40. And
Wow.
it was just sort of, that did not add to it. But like long story short, we did not enjoy a single minute of it. At the end, the kids were like, so what did you think? And I was like, what did you think? And Vivian's like, well, and she was trying to be polite 'cause she knew that I was mad about how sour they were being about the whole experience. And I was like, oh, look, I'm going to cut to the chase. I hated every minute of it. There wasn't a single thing that I liked. And they were like,
Oh, thank God. What was that play we went to in London?
You're in town.
Oh,
Yeah.
Same situation.
Same exact situation.
Super critically acclaimed.
Yeah.
Amazing show. Sold out every night. And we went and we were like, don't get 1
This is fucking
minute.
terrible.
It was terrible.
Awful.
That was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
It's a terrible feeling when you're like, wait a minute. I know that this is critically acclaimed. This is why reading this book or listening to this book and then watching the movie, it made me feel bad about myself that I was like, I don't get it. Like, it's a national bestseller. Like, I felt like I wasn't in with the cool kids. Like, it's like, oh, it's a bestseller, so millions of people love it. And I don't get it.
It's not millions. I think it's only 10,000 people that have to buy it. So it's only like 10,000.
But the movie too. Like, there was also a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. And I was like,
Well, I could see
just
how
don't get it.
when I was reading the book, I thought to myself, I see why this, like you said, why they made this into a movie. It is such a unique story. But One thing I thought was curious was that she had this rendezvous with this ship captain that just never went anywhere and never showed up again. I thought he was going to show up in Paris or something, and having taken some Viagra, and improved his odds, or that was the only thing I thought might twist the plot, because I thought she's going to Paris for the end. Like she's going to end it. And
she was very clear about that. I mean, she says to the or the customs agent when they arrive in France, he says, "Oh, what are you here for?" And she's like, "I want to see the Eiffel Tower and then die."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "Oh, you know what I mean." And but you're like, "No, I know what you mean."
Yeah,
like,
we get it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you did. But I kept thinking, well, plot twist, ship captain finds her, they fall in love, and she has a second act. Maybe that's where we're going. But I don't think so. Because I think, and she reminded me in some ways of my mother. So I think that might have been one of the reasons that I enjoyed the book, because I enjoyed watching this relationship with her son, and I could relate and I could see that if I had stayed with my mother, that would be my relationship with my mother, her with Malcolm. It would have been the same. We would have had phones on each bed and called each other every night, and that would have been my mother's dream come true. Grey Gardens. So part of that, I enjoyed that because I could relate to it, because my mom still is very beautiful. She's very charming. Everybody falls in love with her. Bert was just talking about this on Two Bears, One Cave. And I guess Tom had asked him about my mom, and he was like, I can't really speak about her. I've only met her one time, but the time I did meet her, she was beautiful and charming and very warm and lovely. And that is the way she is when you first meet her. She's awesome. And I was like, she maybe wasn't completely warm or loving, but she's very enthralling, and people are gravitate toward her, or drawn toward her. And I was like, I understand that person, and I understand that person going to the ship captain's room that night on the first night, and I understand the shit talking to people and talking down to people. I totally got all that. So I don't know, maybe that's part of why I liked it. I'm sure it's part of why I liked it. But I also liked I liked his style of writing. I felt like I don't read books in that style of writing much. Not that it was any crazy departure, but it was a little bit, it reminded me of the people I would hang out with in New York. And I always would think, oh, I'm not as smart as you are, for some reason. And not that I felt dumb reading this book, but I felt like I was back in New York, living and like in
that. Yeah, he did get a good sense of those New York people.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked visiting that world. I liked visiting this world. And I liked that it was short. It was super easy, and I knew I was going to get to the end really quickly. I never got bored or never stopped wanting to read it. What was your favorite character, Kirsten, in a book you hated?
The cat. The cat. I liked the scenes with the cat in it, and I liked that then the cat ends up being or the soul of a main character is in the cat. But yeah.
I don't understand. I thought that was so obvious from like page 1.
Yeah. But
then there was this whole scene where they're like, don't tell this new guy. Don't tell the new guy. Like it was very secretive. I was like, wait a minute. Were we not supposed to get that was the dead husband? Like what? I don't I got really confused at that because I thought it was so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And then
I agree too.
It was super secretive. And I don't know. I felt like I missed something at that point.
Yeah. It's funny in the movie. So in the book, she decides, well, I guess brief synopsis is all of a sudden she realizes she's destitute. The financial planner is like, you're out of money. Like the bank is going to take everything. So, I advise you to just sell everything that isn't nailed down, sell your art, sell your jewelry, and get out of New York. And so she does that. She sells her art, sells her jewelry, and tells her adult husband, who is trying to break his marriage proposal, like he's
adult son.
Adult son.
Yeah.
her adult son, who is engaged, but hasn't told his mom that he's engaged because the mom would never approve and would never want to separate from the son, and says, oh, we're going to Paris. And not only do they go to Paris, but they take a ship, like a transatlantic ship to get there, which was sort of bizarre. But then they bring the cat on it. So a big stretch of the book is actually on the ship.
Yeah.
It was not a big stretch of the movie. It was, and so one of my favorite scenes from the book was when they're trying to get on the ship and the customs person or whoever is like, you have a cat with you. You can't, do you have paperwork for the cat? And she's like, no. And he's like, you can't just bring a cat onto a cruise. You can't just bring a cat to another country. Like, and she's like, okay, then. And she just drops the cat on the curb and is like, okay, ready to board. And he's like horrified. Yep. And it really shows like the kind of person that she is.
Yeah.
So she's literally about to abandon her cat in the street.
Right.
And hasn't done any, hasn't thought ahead to do any of the paperwork. And this guy is so horrified and is like, oh my God, what kind of person are you? And it's a big scene that was completely cut from the movie. Yeah. So, I mean, basically all of a sudden they're on the ship and you're like, how did they get the cat? I mean, I knew because I read the book, but I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense.
But such an interesting moment too in the book. Yeah, which is your point.
Yeah,
that they just left it out of the movie.
Yeah,
what were you gonna say, Cathy?
I was going to say that was one of the things that I was like, this would be really funny visually. Right?
Yeah,
when then the cat is then slinking along and you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Like,
because that is how it was explained: is that
yes.
the cat then slinks and makes its way while this big scene is happening.
Right.
But yeah, it was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're not going to deal with that.
These posh people and cat all worked simpatico. Like yes. In there, like the cat understood what she was doing in the book and was like, doo, 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 doo. My question about that is, where's his litter box? Where's this cat peeing and pooping? The whole time I was going, you don't travel with a litter box? What are you doing with this cat? Where's he going to the bathroom?
He just uses the toilet.
I just don't, I guess people that are that wealthy, their cats just don't pee and poop. Maybe, I don't know. That was my thought. Where's the litter box?
They just hold it for the
and there's no
trip.
mention of a litter box. I can't read this book anymore.
This is outrageous.
It's just ridiculous.
What was your favorite character?
I love Frances. I loved her.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was, I loved her stubbornness. She was so stubborn. And I didn't love that she left her dead husband skiing like that. But once she started explaining it, I felt bad for her. I felt like he was a bad person and that she didn't really handle it well. And I couldn't really blame her. Like when I first heard the story, I was like, oh, that's really shitty. But I felt that she was a very broken person who just didn't have a shot and had become this very stubborn, steely, cold, decisive person. And I don't know, I liked her. I really did. I liked that she did completely irrational things, maybe because she's such a departure from me. Like I would never take, you have $130,000 or whatever it is for the rest of your life, and she's flushing it down the toilet, literally flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's because it's her husband's money. I understand, but I don't know why she would do that to Malcolm. If she's
I know
leaving.
that made me crazy.
Malcolm,
I'm like, that you're going to die. You're trying to so yes, the good thing about that came of it is that Malcolm is set free.
Yeah,
he can marry who he wants. He can live his life. He can finally be free. But I'm like, you know what? He's going to need a lot of that money for therapy,
right?
Or that kid has never had a job.
No.
Like that kid cannot function outside of that house. So
give him a bit of like a running start with that cash.
How about cab fare? To get back to the boat, to take the ferry back to, not the ferry, but you know what I mean? The freight, what is it? The ship? I don't know.
The cruise line.
Back to New York with Susan. And why did Susan love him? I didn't really get that much.
I did not get that either.
And why her and the new boyfriend, who's the old boyfriend, showed up in Paris.
That didn't really.
It was
that part. I lost me a little
bit.
bit.
The casting. So I didn't get that far in the movie. I got far enough to have met Susan, to have met the psychic on the cruise ship,
Madeline,
and both of them looked nothing like what I expected.
Really,
and I don't even know what I was expecting. I didn't even think I had such a strong visual, but I was like, what? That's Susan? What? That's not.
Well, you didn't read the same book I did. If that's Susan, right? That's funny.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character, Cathy?
I don't know, probably Frances. I mean, she's fun in a lot of ways. I also like the kooky woman in Paris. What the hell's her name?
Madame Renard.
Yeah.
Frances. Wasn't her first name Frances? No, it's
No.
not Frances.
The other lady
Frances
who
is
just
the
like
main
shows
character,
up
duh.
and like pretends
Yeah.
that she's going home every night, but doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. She was just, she was interesting. She was very different from anyone else. Not
Mhm.
somebody that I particularly like, but she was a very interesting character,
Yeah, she was.
you know, in a very sad kind of way,
Yeah.
like very desperate, but.
And part of me liked that some of the characters weren't well drawn out. Like the detective. He wasn't the private detective.
Yeah, that
wasn't
annoyed
really
me.
well. It
Annoyed me. Yeah.
annoyed you. Ignored you.
I was like, I don't get why is he still there? What is the purpose of this? Like, it's just to add to the cast of characters.
Yeah, the purpose was like a
Like-
parlor comedy to
Yeah.
have more people in the parlor.
right.
I think he was hooking up with Madame Renard. That's why that's what I thought.
I
They were
think
hooking up.
maybe eventually, but
I don't know.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
what more can we talk about? I really don't think it was a comedy. What would you classify this as?
that's a good question. I don't know. I didn't think it was very funny, so I assume a comedy is supposed to be funny, but I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what genre we put that in. They put it in dark comedy. Maybe that's why, because they didn't know where to put it.
Yeah, I mean, it's quirky.
I mean, it is quirky. I don't even know that it's all. I mean, I guess it's slightly dark, but
It's slightly dark.
Slightly
Well,
dark.
there's
Like-
dark
What?
because there's a suicide.
yeah,
Right?
that's what I'm wondering. Like, is that why? Because
We sound so hardened, like, oh, it's not that dark. It's just,
It's just a
only like the main-
suicide.
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's all. Spoiler alert. And you know, a lot of people email me and go, you know, I don't read the books that you read, but I like listening to you talk about it. So I feel like it's okay if we spoiler
If we-
alert it a little bit, because who has time to read? I guess besides the three of us. I guess we make time to read, but I don't know.
well,
I
this
don't know.
certainly wasn't hard to read.
No,
It was
wasn't
super
hard.
quick. It was easy. It was
I felt like it was a winter beach read. That's what I kept thinking. This is not a beach read, but it was like it was like a Thanksgiving week off read. Because I read it in like 2 days, maybe. If I'd had one whole day, I probably could have read the whole thing in one day. But that's what it felt like. It didn't feel like super heavy, even though it was a little dark. It wasn't cumbersome. It wasn't hard to read. It wasn't hard to understand. It wasn't hard to follow. It felt like a winter beach read.
Yep.
So
That's a good characterization.
so then yeah, so if
there's
you're
the
looking
category.
for a quick read, right? A quick.
Yeah.
I just want to read something quick,
right.
because sometimes I do. Sometimes I just want to read something quick. And
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm very much influenced by like chapter length. Sometimes I'll flip through a book, and if the chapters are like 45 pages long, I'm like,
I
I
am
don't
too,
have
actually.
the bandwidth for that
Yeah.
right now. Sometimes I just need to see a little white space.
Yeah.
You know, it just,
I agree. I need to feel like I'm moving through the book. And if the chapter's too long, I feel like it takes, because what I do, I'm so busy, is I compartmentalize.
Yeah.
And if I try to finish a chapter before I put the book down.
Yes,
And if the
exactly.
chapter's too long,
Right.
then I can't do that.
yeah, then you just put the book aside and
Yeah.
you just don't get to it.
That's
Yeah.
right. I do that. Exactly. Note to self, people aspiring to be writers, make your chapter shorter. But I've gotten a lot of comments about this the romance novel.
Yeah.
Not to back it up too much, but are we finished talking about French Exit? I think we are.
I'm done here.
I mean, I would recommend it as a winter beach read. I wouldn't recommend it as a monumental best read of my
Right.
life. I'll forget about it by next week. I'll probably never remember I've ever read it. It's not like that book that I was talking about. We chose between this and that one. This Is Where I Leave You. That book comes back to me over and over again. I'm probably going to read it again. So maybe we'll read it as a book club book. It is funny. And it is like Arrested Development in that it's family, and it does, I think, the opposite of what you described happened for you in this book. But anyway, yes, the romance novel. I got a long email about your comment, Kirsten, about Game of Thrones as a book and not wanting to read fantasy. Someone broke down the different genres of fantasy and how you were incorrect in what you were saying and got super into it. And I don't ever get emails like that. Like I don't ever.
Okay, I know nothing about fantasy. Like I didn't think that
I think the email said, I know she said she knows nothing about fantasy, but let me explain. And I was like, oh my God, people are super hardcore into this. And with the romance, so many people were like, oh, she's my favorite author. I'm so sad you didn't get it. And I was like, oh, sorry. We didn't get it. I'm sorry. We just didn't get it.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what reading is, right? Like this guy, it's like the author, he was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, which is only one of the most prestigious, not for this book, but for one of his other books. He's a good writer. He's a good writer. And so I feel bad like saying I did not respond to this at like even 1%. Like I was just, it's like, it's not you, it's me. I just want to say that in the book because I know that it's like so much work goes into
not you, it's
me. The romance book that we read, and that it's like different people respond to different things and also at different times.
Yes, that is true at different times. I don't know that I would read Stephen King right now. I haven't read a Stephen King book in years, but in high school, I devoured, and through college, that's all I read. I didn't read anything else. But now I don't connect with that. So I completely hear what you're saying. But yeah, a lot of people recommended other romance novels for us to read, to try. If we didn't like her, to try some others. And I appreciate that. I think that's awesome. Maybe we'll give another one a whirl later after we've recovered from the first one. But I don't know. I like that we talked about something that caused so much reaching out. Mm-hmm. That means you talk about something that people really care about or passionate about. Stephen and Bert were on talking about raising teenage daughters, and I got flooded with people, with a lot of young ladies saying, oh my God, I was exactly like this to my dad and I hadn't thought about it. And a couple of them were like, I actually listened to your episode and then called my dad and apologized.
Wow.
And said, I'm so sorry that I treated you this way. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's why you have these conversations, so that you can self-reflect and maybe make a positive change for yourself or a positive step. Not that you need to, apologizing to your dad for being a jerk doesn't necessarily change your life, but it might change your relationship with your dad. Definitely change your relationship with yourself to reflect and go, maybe I wasn't the best person. And maybe that was okay because it's normal. But I love that about this podcast, that when we talk about something, I like comments, not because I'm popular. I like comments because the more comments I have, it tends to be the more of a nerve we've struck, positive or negative. And I like that because then I go, well, that's the whole point, is to get people to think or to consider what we're talking about. So anyway, the romance novel really hit a nerve. We'll see if this one does. We should pick some other genre that has hardcore fans, like fantasy.
Well, clearly fantasy does.
Yeah. Maybe we should read Game of Thrones. I'm just kidding, Kirsten. She's like, can I quit the book club?
Right. She's like, I think I'm out.
Can I take a month off?
I said I'm done. Sorry.
I just don't have time to read a 1,000-page long book.
No, I don't either. And I think, the way we approached this book, that it was shorter, was very smart. Unless it's something we're really dying to read, I think we should look at keeping it really short because, I don't pay you guys to come here. You come here because you're kind and you like what we're doing.
For all the laughs. We come for all the laughs. Yeah.
Well, it is social. It's kind of hit several birds with one stone, and I appreciate it very much. So I do feel bad to say, hey, let's read Anna Karenina. And I'll see you in 6 months. I think we should keep it short like this, right?
Yeah. Somehow I think that the Anna Karenina book club is not going to be the most popular one. We will not generate the most comments other than what
we won't hit much of a nerve.
Anna Karenina in 3 parts. Part 1.
Next week, Moby Dick.
Right. The Stand. So that's what I wanted to read for Stephen King. No, just kidding. So I did some research. I thought, I've been so busy. You sent me all those options. I've been talking about horror forever. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't have time to dig into the other genres. So I just went online and asked the question, what is the best Stephen King book to start with? Did you guys ask that question online or anything? No. Well, it said to start with Carrie, which is a short book. Yeah. And it is his first published book. There are lots of books after that are great. But 2 or 3 different websites said the same thing. Start with Carrie. If you're introducing someone to Stephen King, that's the book to start with. So maybe we'll start with Carrie.
How are you? I haven't read that one.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, I did.
I don't remember if I read it or not.
I mean, it was 100 years ago if I did, but I don't think I did.
I did. I read it. It's interesting too because it's everybody knows the basic story of Carrie. Yeah. It's a girl in high school who's on the outs and gets on the in and then is treated poorly and havoc wreaks. So, but I remember it being a very relatable story. That's the good thing about a lot of his books is a lot of what his characters are just super relatable, regular people in extraordinary circumstances. Carrie is not a regular person, but you can relate.
But she kind of is. It's kind of a metaphor for for the alienation of.
Yeah. When you don't fit in, when you're not one of the cool kids, when you're not John Travolta in the first movie. Remember, he was the cool kid. So let's read Carrie. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I'll send you Carrie. Shortest podcast ever. It's been 45 minutes. What else can we talk about, guys?
Not the French exit.
Not the French exit. We're done. Okay, so Carrie's next time. We if we're gonna read a fantasy at some point, what does anybody know off the top? Is Hunger Games a fantasy? Or is that an adventure? Action adventure?
I'm staying out of this.
I don't know anything about fantasy. Last time, right? Somebody really got
the problem to me with fantasy, and I'm probably wrong, and this person can write into you and tell me how I'm wrong, but is that most, in my experience, or at least the type of fantasy that my husband reads or that other friends have read, they tend to run very long. So that's why it hasn't been a natural fit for this podcast. But if that person could write into you and give you suggestions for a shorter fantasy novel, okay, we might be more.
Well, even the Hunger Games is a trilogy, right? Like
Lord of the Rings is pretty short, right? Joking. No, it definitely does not have Hunger Games. Dune. Okay, my daughter talked about Six of Crows forever. Have you read Six of Crows? Oh my God. She said it was just the best book ever. And that's in a fantasy. I'm looking up the best fantasy. And I don't remember that was super long. I'll have to look and see. But that's something to think about. But she told everybody she knew to read that book. It just blew her mind. Six of Crows. I think that's the one. Shadow and Bone was another one, I think, that she just freaking died for. She actually read fantasy a lot. So maybe I'll ask Georgia. Same author, Halston from the other room said. That would make sense. She loved all of those books. So maybe we'll, and if they're, she read them in middle school. So maybe that means it'll be an easy read. Maybe we'll see. What'd you say? 465. Never mind. 465 pages, too long.
That sounds
super
short.
Short for fantasy, but
really
not.
How long was the Paris exit? 260, something like that. I'm looking in the 260s. But
think about Lord of the Rings. That's like 1,000 pages. So
I'm thinking like 300 or less.
This was 244.
Oh, that was such a sweet spot. We're just like, bam, I got it out, right?
When I looked up the Stephen King list, I looked it up by page count.
Oh, you did not?
Wow.
Oh, my really God. because The Stand,
he has
Under
some
the
really
Dome,
long ones. Yeah.
Those three in particular. I mean,
but he has several others that are not that long.
No, he does for sure,
and he does have some novellas that are like sort of compiled in a one big book. Like Stand by Me was like a short novella.
Yes, it was a novella. So was The Shawshank Redemption, which was called Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. It was a really good story, actually. And then they made that great movie. I wonder if we shouldn't have a book club where we watch where we have a book club that's been made into a movie and then compare. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Like if we have like this one, we could have done that, but maybe we do that next time or another time because next time is Carrie.
I don't want to watch that.
You don't want to watch Carrie?
No.
I watched it a long time ago, but
I watched it a long time ago. But
that is not my thing at all.
No. Okay, we won't do that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else are you reading besides this?
I'm reading 99% memoir.
Oh yeah, because what are you reading? That's good. Anything that's good?
Yeah, I just read one called A Face for Picasso by Ariel Henley, I believe, about a girl. She and her sister. She's an identical twin. They are born with a genetic syndrome that causes I'm probably going to get this wrong, but causes the bones in their head to fuse prematurely.
Oh my.
So therefore, as they grow, like their different parts are growing, but the bones have already fused. So they end up having 60 surgeries by the time they're done high school. And it is beautifully written. It goes deep, and she really gets into how the experience was like for her parents and also for her siblings who were not experiencing this, and how painful it was even for the other members of the family to see them suffering so much.
So both twins had this.
Yes.
Wow.
And so they're identical twins, but because of these repeated surgeries, they look less and less alike over time because they're having all of these, corrective surgeries. And so she really goes into how it really messes with their identity because they come out of a surgery and they no longer look like their twin. And then they look in the mirror and they don't recognize themselves. And just the relentless bullying from like kids and adults. And it is beautifully written. I highly recommend it. A Face for Picasso.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Moving.
Yes. Heavy, but really good.
Cathy, what are you reading?
I'm not reading anything, actually. I had a couple of things that like came in from the library after this, and then like apparently I never took them out in time. So, but I know what was on my list. It was something by, I think it was Kristen Hanna, like The Four Winds. I think that was in there. And then there's another novel called The Maiden, I think. And then yesterday I was like, you know what I should start doing is reading the Drew Pinsky book. That
this
I have.
one?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be awkward.
Correct.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
I like that book a lot. Did I give you that book?
Uh-huh.
I thought so.
Yeah.
It's a good book. Well, I've been like, I have the book that I got from the Barnes and Noble grab bag, like secret book club, where you just pick one and that's what you're reading. And I can't get into it. I keep starting it and going, I don't want to read this right now. And I'm not saying the book is bad. I'm not in the mood.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in the mood for a beach read and you get something that's heavy and you go, I don't want it. I just want another beach read. I kind of want another beach read like this French Exit. I think that was perfect for me. Nothing too heavy, nothing I have to think about a lot. I'd like something like that. That's still good, that's still entertaining. And I haven't found that at the moment. And I'm frustrated because I keep wanting to read. And then I keep going, I don't want to read this right now. This is not what I want to read right now. But it's not that I don't want to read it later. I just don't want to read it now.
Yeah. I mean, so much of reading is like the right time, like the right time for the right book at the right time.
And that book you just described, the memoir, sounds amazing, but I don't want to read that.
Yeah,
right
that
now.
is not a beach read.
Yeah, no, I don't want to read it right now. So maybe Carrie will be a beach read, a bloody beach read,
bloodbath of a beach read.
Anyway, I wonder if we should pick a self-help book because we haven't really read a self-help book in a long
while.
time. What was that? You don't need any more help?
No, a lot of the self-help books have been.
You just got 15 pounds heavier when I said that. Your whole body went, Gouge.
I have not enjoyed most of the self-help books that we've read.
Okay, so we'll put that off till summer.
But never say never. And I'm open to whatever we decide.
I wonder if we should do this too. I think about this a lot. A lot of the books that I read like 30 years ago, no one talks about anymore. They're 30 years old, but they're really good books, and I read like, this is goofy probably, but I read Jonathan Livingston Seagull. What a great book. Super short. None of the kids these days know anything about this book. I gave Georgia a copy of this book and she was like, that was an amazing book. And I'm like, yeah, no one talks about it anymore. For some reason, some books like that don't transcend, like,
Forever.
What's that?
Forever,
right? Like Jane Austen and all those books that keep going on generation after generation. But I wonder if we should search our own libraries, and see something that really, really changed our perspective, or like that book, This Is Where I Leave You, that keeps coming back to me over and over again. We're going, that was a really great book. I wonder if we should search our libraries and see if there's something like that you've forgotten about, that you can.
Something that resonated at one point in our lives.
Yeah. Like Forever. That was a really interesting experiment, to read the book that meant so much to me and to then understand what I learned from that book. Because when I first went on this journey of trying to figure out who I was, I read so many self-help books. I read, the 7 Spiritual Laws of whatever. And then I read the 4 Agreements, and I read, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and Think Rich, Grow Rich, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And there are all those kind of self-help books that were really coming out in the early 90s that made a huge influence on me that no one talks about anymore, because self-help books are so constantly renewed. I would love to read one of those books again and see and have the same kind of experiment I had with Forever and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I built my entire foundation on this thought. Because I think I actually did build a lot of because I was really trying to rebuild my thinking in my early 20s, because I had been brought up with some flawed information. And I wonder how much I based it on Louise Hay. I read her so much that when I went back and read her again, I was like, that's actually how I think most of the time. So that's kind of cool to realize that's where that came from. So maybe we approach self-help from that angle. If you guys have any self-help books too, where you went, this one really changed my perspective or how I functioned. Because I have a couple myself.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun exercise anyway, to just like go through the bookshelves and the boxes of books and see, because there's like boxes of books that sort of make it through every move.
Exactly.
Yes.
And don't get purged.
Get opened.
Yeah, they don't get opened, but they don't get purged.
Yes.
And that is curious.
That is curious, right? Let's do that as an exercise and pull one or any genre. Maybe we'll do that after Carrie. Is that okay? Does it give you enough time after Carrie to come in with a couple that just never left you for whatever reason?
Well, I'm already remembering one that is not self-help, but that was the first novel that was assigned in school that I actually loved. Like, because most of the books that were assigned in school, I was like, yeah, I get, like whatever, Lord of the Flies and all you're like, okay, it's well written and whatever, but it doesn't like speak to me. It's not something that I would have, picked off a shelf and like, or that I'm going to recommend to anybody in the future. And there was this book by a very famous Canadian author, Robertson Davies, called Fifth Business, that I read in 12th grade and was like, holy crap, I'm going to read all of his books now.
Wow.
Because it was so good. And I really don't remember a thing about it other than it was just beautifully written, and the the imagery and the symbolism and everything, and the characters, and it was fantastic. So yeah, it'll be interesting to go through the whole box, the box that makes all of the moves.
Right?
And,
Like this book
Yeah.
I've had
Right.
forever since
Yeah.
middle school. I've never thrown that book out. I have some more like that. I have to go look and see what they are. That's an interesting, I think that'd be an interesting exercise. I was just thinking as you were describing the books that we were assigned in school, aren't they very male driven? Aren't they? Catcher in the Rye,
Great Gatsby.
Lord of the Flies, Great Gatsby, Ivanhoe. I got assigned Ivanhoe. Come on. It was all about knights and King Richard and King whoever. But I don't remember reading Jane Austen in high school. We didn't, I don't remember reading The Scarlet Letter. I didn't read Anne of Green Gables. I didn't read any of that stuff. It was all very male centric.
You know what's interesting? I got a text recently from a friend of mine who said, "Can you recommend any self-help books by women, ones that really spoke to you by women?" And she said, "I just feel like I've read a lot of really great ones, but I have all these male voices in my head, and it's enough." She's like, "I'm 50. I want female voices in my head.
Right.
I want to learn from women." Yeah, that's interesting.
That's funny. All of them that I read in the very beginning were women. Shakti Gawain, Louise Hay, eventually Brene Brown. But the two that I relied on the most when I first started trying to figure out who I were both women. I didn't find Deepak Chopra for years, and he was probably the next one that was really self-help, or the Four Agreements for years later. I focused on those two women. I read everything they wrote in the very beginning, all women. But that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, having that self-help come through a male perspective. Nothing wrong with a male perspective. It's very valid and very valuable, but it's not very balanced if every single book you're assigned in high school is male focused. I mean, they were all male. There's no female narrator in any of the books I remember reading. Shakespeare, but that's not, Shakespeare's kind of more universal. And we read Romeo and Juliet. But I don't remember reading any. I read no Bronte. I read no Austen, no female writers at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like back in high school, what we were reading. We definitely read Scarlet Letter, but
I did not. No, I did not.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No,
not really. I mean, clearly they weren't that powerful.
My kids are reading the Scarlet Letter, or one of them is. But yeah,
my kids did not actually.
One of mine did.
About that.
I don't remember which one. I think it was Georgia.
Neither of them.
They're both reading Jane Austen right now. They're both reading Pride and Prejudice, which is really interesting. One's in 10th grade, one's in 12th grade AP English, and they're reading the same thing. I wonder, it'd be interesting to hear how that literature is approached in each class. Yeah. And for what purpose, Anyway, we get all nerdy, nerdy and heady. Are you ready for Christmas?
No.
Now you both got 15 pounds
Yeah,
heavier.
right.
Not ready for Christmas?
Unclear.
Was that question too complex?
Yeah. Well, Richard's birthday is December 5th. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're dealing with this with Lily.
Yeah.
And when you have a loved one whose birthday is really close to Christmas, it was like, I felt like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. And then all of a sudden we wrap everything up for his birthday. And I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I don't have anything for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some things. It's just, it feels like repeats of the same. It's like, I got clothes and.
As the older we all get, the harder it is to
It is
shop.
much
isn't
harder.
it?
Yeah.
It's harder because I'll go to shop for Cathy, and I'll go, well, I've already bought her a vase. I've already bought her a candle. I've already bought her a
Yes.
scarf. I've
No,
already bought her
exactly.
this. I've already bought her that. How do you start over? It's really hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Richard's mom once bought him. She was actually with us for Christmas, and he opened the gift, and it was a like charcoal gray cashmere sweater, and she's like, "Do you like it?" And he's like, yeah, and I liked it last year too. When
Oh my God.
we got like literally the exact same one, same size, same brand, same everything. And she's like, I did not. And he's like, Mom. And he went into the bedroom and he brought it out and he's like, and she's like, what? And I like, we all had a good laugh about it. It's funny, but I was also like, oh my God, we're all walking that edge. Like,
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
We are.
the older we get, and like I felt for her. I'm like, my God, she's been buying him gifts for 50 years.
Yeah,
Like,
she's probably
at a certain
exhausted.
point, she's just like, okay,
Get your own gift.
Yeah.
My in-laws have started kind of doing it right. The kids are older and they're like, here, the bulk of your gift is just going to be gift cards. Where do you want them from?
Yeah.
She was like, I don't want to just give you a Visa gift card. That's impersonal. What do you want them from? And I was like, I'll take one from Williams-Sonoma. Great. She's so happy
Yeah.
to give me that. And she's like, I know you need things for the house. I know you've had your first Thanksgiving. I know you saw some like holes in your, I need 2 gravy boats. I need 2 gravy boats. I have too many people. 1 gravy boat's not enough gravy. So she was like, then just go buy what you want. She does that for my kids too. Where do you want your gift certificate? And so she makes it specific. Like Georgia was like, I want one from Joann's so I can buy yarn. Great. So as it's not lame because we get plenty of presents, but it just makes life so much easier. I mean, if they had no presents to open and they just got gift card, that would be one thing. And they don't just give them gift cards. They'll give them something else little. But the bulk of their gift and our gift has been gift cards lately, and it's pretty great. It just makes everybody's life easier.
Yeah.
And I don't mind, sometimes I feel like I'm the forgotten one in the house. That I buy everybody's gifts. And at the end of the day, they go, oh, yeah, Mom. Oh, forgot about Mom. But Isla has figured out fully, not that she didn't know this already, figured out fully how to shop on Amazon for everyone's Christmas gift. And she has bought everyone a gift. And she has been so thoughtful about it that I think this year I'm actually going to get a gift that I'm going to be like, yes, someone understands. Thank you,
Camille
Isla.
went to the mall like 2 months ago with her babysitting money and literally bought gifts for everyone. And by everyone, like not just everyone in our immediate family, all the cousins, the grandparents, everyone out of her own money. I have no idea what she got, but it was so thoughtful. So I
Aw.
don't care what it is. Like it's,
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So what'd you get this year that's really that you can share with us so we can steal the idea? What'd you get? Anything good?
What I got for Richard's birthday, which was sort of like the big gift, is this thing called a Rev Balance board.
What is that?
So he really enjoyed like paddle boarding in when we were in Maui and when we were in Kauai. We did a surfing lesson. He really enjoyed that. So it's a board that's like, it's to work your core. So there's a million different ways that you can use it, but you basically stand on it. Like the basic way to use it is you stand on it like a surfboard or a skateboard or whatever. It's like kind of larger than a skateboard. It's like a longboard maybe, but it's not like a surfboard. And it has this like sort of tube underneath it. And there are magnets you can place in different places to make it harder or easier. And you stand on it and wobble. But you can also do like push-ups on it.
Okay.
You can do like lunges or squats, or there's like a whole bunch of different exercises that you can do on it. But
That's cool.
he loves to try new exercise things, and
That's so good for
he's
you
really into
too.
it. Yeah.
The balance piece as we get older really starts leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Almost fell down the stairs the other day. And I was like, oh my God, I got to start holding the handrail. I'm only 51. What happens 30 years from now? I'm just going to give up and roll down. Just let me get ahead of this. I'm just going to roll down the stairs. If I don't break anything. I was just walking and lost my balance somehow. So it's good because he can work on his balance while he's watching TV or something, right?
Yeah.
What about you? You got anything good we can steal from?
I don't really have anything good. That's the problem. I have a lot of stuff. None of it's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not a wow.
Mm-hmm.
So for any of my family.
Well, my friend Kelly Brown came up with a wow for me the other day. I think I'm going to get this. She was like, "You have this great deck up here and all this open sky from this deck. You should buy a telescope for your kids for Christmas."
Oh,
So I think I might. Buy a telescope.
That's cool.
That's fun.
Because you could sit up on that deck and look. There's this whole big unencumbered shot of the sky. If we ever have stars here, but you could at least see the moon. A couple of the planets, and I may get one that goes in like a case, and we can take it Girl Scouts. Like if we go again to Girl Scouts, because my dad inherited a telescope in that his uncle died and left him he had this old really cool telescope, and we set it up at the lake, and Isla spent forever looking in that telescope. She loved it, so that may be what I get.
That's cool.
The girls,
That's
just
a good
put
idea.
it like a joint gift. This is going to live on the deck. You can go out and check it out. But other than that, I don't really have anything cool either.
Yeah. It's hard now that they're older.
It is hard.
Like,
And Isla's list is like a rug for my room, check with me first. Art for my room, check with me first. You know, a bathrobe, check with me first. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I want to give you something you don't know what it is. You know,
Max has a very similar list. It's like whatever it is, and then the price. Like it's like blah 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 headphones, and this is the price, and whatever, and this is where it can be located. Right, and then but then he has like ridiculous things on there. He's like tattoo. I don't know how much it cost. I was like, you're not getting a tattoo. Like, what's wrong with you? Not getting a tattoo. And he described what kind of tattoo.
Oh my God.
It was very interesting.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Tattoo.
And then like motorcycle. I don't know how much it costs.
Like, it costs nothing because you won't be getting
You're not getting a
Right.
motorcycle. That's not happening. Yeah. So, and then Lily's list is like clothes, makeup. And she has a list of books and a list of like gift cards that like from places that she wants. I was like, well, that's all your birthday.
Right.
So like there's nothing, I don't know. It's tricky.
It is tricky. And I keep asking my kids what they want and they say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can't have nothing under the tree. I bought them like, crystal necklaces. They're all into crystals and, socks because we're going snow skiing and they can never keep up with their thick, like snow skiing socks. By the time snow skiing comes around again, nobody has them. I don't know what happens to them, but they disappear. And stuff like that. But it's all pretty lame. I feel kind of bad. But I do have a niece and a nephew, and that's been kind of fun. I've been buying
That's a fun age,
Isn't
right?
that fun?
Yeah.
4. I bought him. He is really into Spider-Man, big time. So I bought him his own Spider-Man chair, so he can sit in his Spider-Man chair and watch TV. I apologize, Cotty. She will probably kill me because I know she will not want this Spider-Man chair. But I can see his whole face go like, "Oh, a Spider-Man chair!" And I got Lola a Moana doll. She really loves Moana. So I got her a doll and a couple other things, but they're so fun to buy for those little nuggets. Going anywhere for Christmas? Anybody?
We are going to North Carolina. Richard had one brother and sister-in-law live in Durham, North Carolina, and his parents bought a house recently in Raleigh-Durham area as well. And so the other brother and sister-in-law and kids are coming down. And so it'll be the first time the cousins all seen one another in like 2.5 years.
Wow. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Cousins are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They're so safe, aren't they?
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. My kids are just obsessed with their cousins. Like just
Aw.
obsessed. I mean, yeah.
That's so cool. That means
is
they'll
cool.
stick together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll keep getting together as the years go by. I think Georgia and Isla's, they have 2 cousins they're particularly close to. They're pretty close to all of them, but Abigail and Lexi and Georgia and Isla are just thick as thieves. And they're different ages. Lexi is Georgia's age, but Abigail's a sophomore or junior in college. And they're still really, really tight. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool when that happens. You're not going anywhere, Cathy?
No. I don't love traveling over the holidays.
Oh, I hate
I
it.
like to
Nor
be
do
home.
I.
Me
I
too.
want to be in my house.
Me too.
So no, we're not traveling at all.
Me too. We're going snow skiing, and I'm happy to go snow skiing, but I feel the same way. I don't want to go anywhere.
Mhm.
It's not that I don't want to go snow skiing. I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And
I want to hang out with my animals.
Me too. I want to not have so much to do in my house. I feel like my house in particular. I just said this to Bert this morning. I feel like I'm finally getting like it's ending. Like all this construction is ending. The front yard is done. They've got all the lighting in. They have one more day of work total at my house. And then they're starting to redo the barbecue because that was built improperly and had to be redone. So once the barbecue's done, I am literally finished. And sometime this week, actually, I'm supposed to get my furniture for my living room. So I'm really like, by January, I'm going to be kind of done. And I'm so looking forward to it. So I would love to just kind of not have anything to do in this house. Annie's coming today to help me plow through my living room. The last boxes, the last men standing, just get rid of them. Whatever is in there, put them where they need to be, donate, trash, whatever, and just be done. So yeah, I'm happy to go snow skiing, but I kind of would rather just stay home this year. But it's George's last year home.
Yeah.
So got to do it. Got to go. It's the last, I feel like my life is about to go backwards a little bit. And why are you?
Yeah, I think
your
you're
head?
right. I mean, there's your kid about to, move out of the house. That's weird.
It is weird.
That's going to be a big change. To only have one kid in your house.
Mm-hmm.
That's
going to change the dynamic so much.
a lot. Yeah.
It's going to stink,
Mm-hmm.
but it's good, but it's still going to stink. So I'm trying to, she's so funny, I was never home when I was a senior in high school. I'm sure neither of you were ever home when you were a senior in high school. You were always out doing stuff, but, and it's always really bothered Bert, and it hasn't really bothered me, but it started bothering me recently, I think, because I see the downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And it started, I've been missing her. And I told her the other day, she was out Friday night, spent the night at someone's house. Out Saturday, I had my ornament exchange. She, quote, helped. She was the worst helper. Isla and Lily were helping, and Georgia was gossiping with her friend in the kitchen. That was basically what her help was. I paid her to gossip with Daisy. That's what I did. And they helped a little bit, but Lily and Isla really, really helped. And then she left, and then she was gone that whole night too. And I was like, I have not seen her at all since. I haven't seen her at all. I don't see her all week because of school.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't see her all weekend. And so Sunday she came home, and I was like, I think we need to shift things around a little bit. Like, I'm sincerely missing you. And I do deserve a little bit of your time. I don't deserve a lot, but I deserve a little bit. So let's decide what that looks like. Is it that Sundays you just don't go anywhere and you hang out at home all day Sunday and you clean your room and you get yourself organized and you do your homework and you actually come to the living room and spend time? What does it look like? But I'm telling you, I need you to still be involved in our family to some extent, because she's just so, now she started playing lacrosse. And so she has lacrosse practice like 4 days a week. And so, and she's just really busy. And I don't begrudge any of it, but she really, really does not care to spend any time with her mom and dad and sister at all. And I'm not sure that's entirely healthy either. Like, you should send a little bit, not a lot. We all ate dinner together last night. We have been eating dinner together for a while, and we were eat dinner together people all the time. And all of a sudden things started shifting around, and we stopped doing that for some reason. They'll get food and go back to their room and study, and I'm eating by myself. And now Isla's a vegan. And so I can't really cook. I have to cook 2 meals, or I have to cook 1 meal with an extra vegan protein option. And I'm happy to do that, but they're so like busy. I have a project due. I need to go in my room. I have to FaceTime. And Isla is in American Sign Language as her language, which is awesome. However, she's paired with students all over the United States. So sometimes she has to, and they work together. I love the program. It's an awesome program, but it sucks to be on the West Coast with this program where there's people in Cleveland and, all over the U.S., but she has to kind of work at their schedule, and almost always it's at dinner. I'm like, because 6 here is like 9 there. And
Right.
that's when kids do their homework. And although Isla does her homework at 9, she has to do it at 6 with this person. And I'm like, well, shit, there goes dinner. I've made dinner and now you got to go do American Sign Language upstairs in your room with someone in Cleveland. I missed you. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Isla has decided to be in the play at school, which I'm really happy for. But I have to drive to school to pick her up every day. And I did that last night and I was like, well, at least I'm going to have this time with her in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least I'll get that connection with Isla. I have no idea how I'm going to get it with Georgia between now and when she leaves. Can you believe they're leaving, Cathy?
No. I haven't wrapped my head around it yet at all.
Have you listened to the episode I did with Jeannie and Margaret about it? Yeah. I think it's all normalizing for them by now.
Yeah.
I think they're feeling a little better about it, but it's hard. I think it's hard. Do you think Camille will go away to college? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. She was really upset last night. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, about her grades and like, oh my, I'll never get into college with grades like these. And we were like, what are you talking about? Your grades are better than ever. And she was upset because she's like, I have a B in AP English. And I'm like, it's an AP. Like, it's an AP. They're harder. And I'm like, and you'll still get into college. Like, she's not trying to get into Harvard. Like, she's totally going to get into college. But
yeah. I think all kids these days think the requirements for Harvard apply to every college. Mm-hmm. And it's not true.
It's not true, but that is the prevailing thought. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of pressure on these kids, you know?
I agree.
Yeah. Like, you know, in filling out the applications. Oh my God, why didn't I do better when I was a freshman? Because you were a freshman. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And you just didn't. And it's okay that you... We're not a straight A student as a freshman. Like, it's fine. Relax.
And also to see improvement. I mean, honestly, and these are humans too, who like, this isn't their first kid who's applying. Like, oh, what? You had bad grades in 9th grade and
bad
they improved?
As a B.
Like,
do you know what I mean? They're not bad. They're fine. Like, just
they don't want to see like, oh, if you were like a straight A student in 9th grade and now you were a straight C student, maybe that's what they don't want to see, you know?
I don't even know if it's that. Here's the deal. Georgia does not have spectacular grades. They're not terrible. I would say if I had to quantify her, I'd say she's a solid B student, B plus. Yeah. Solid. Now, she has A's, she has C's. Mm-hmm. But if I had to get her a label, she's a B student, right? She has extracurricular activities. Girl Scouts, she's always played a sport. Now she's got a bunch of stuff senior year. She applied to 10 colleges. She's already gotten into 5 of them. You know, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
And she's got into some good schools, not Harvard.
Yeah.
But that girl's never wanted to go to Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
totally.
The myth that they're operating under needs to be busted. And I don't know
how to do that.
And you know what's really interesting too? This makes me a little angry. Someone in this process, I won't say who, but someone in this process was encouraging me to fill out the financial aid form, the FAFSA or whatever it is. And I said, no. And they said, but you should anyway. And I said, but I'm not going to take a scholarship of any kind of financial aid money because that would be taking financial aid money from someone who needs it. We can fully afford to pay for whatever college our kid gets into, because they're not going to Harvard. We're not going to Stanford. We're not going to USC. We can afford a $30,000 a year college, which is where my kid's going to go. And I find it offensive that I felt pressured highly to fill out a financial aid form. And my conclusion to that is they are applying the process to everyone the same. And not looking at the individual and saying, this family doesn't need financial aid. This family needs financial aid. This family doesn't need to worry about her grades because she's not interested in going to Harvard. They apply the same rules to every family. And the pressure she was putting on me to fill out a fucking financial aid form, where I literally said to her at the end of the conversation, I find it unethical, and I will not fill this out because I think it is unethical.
Good for you.
And she was like, okay. But I had to push that hard for her to leave me alone about it. And I'm 51 years old, and she's a lot younger than me, still an employee of this, wherever this was coming from. And I thought, if I feel this way, how do the children feel this way? You must apply for the California state schools. You must. Why? They don't want to. My kid didn't want to, but you should anyway. Just do it anyway. You do it anyway. You need a backup anyway. Just a backup anyway. She's already gotten into 3 schools. She doesn't need a backup. Why are you making her feel like this is a high-pressured environment when it is not necessary? That made me so upset because I thought, that's happening for every single family. Yeah. Guarantee you. That is the attitude and the pressure that is being placed. But for what? Why? How many if someone has decided to send their child to the private school my kids are in, I guarantee you 99% of that school is going to college. They don't need to be pressured. The kids who need help with it are the kids in the public school system who don't have the resources, the advocacy from their parents, the access to funds. They need the stuff that they're pushing on me that I don't need, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's so wrong. Soapbox. But what do you think about that? Did you experience that in your experience with school? With college?
I do feel like, while there was not that sort of direct pressure, I do feel like the culture is massively puts a lot of pressure on these kids. And our school has been really good about saying, relax. You don't need to do this yet. You don't need to take the SATs if you don't want to. All of the schools you're applying to are test blind or test optional. So if this is not something that you're going to excel at, why bother?
Yeah.
So in that way, it was really good. Like the one-on-one support we got was amazing. However, my kid still comes home and is like, everyone's taking the SATs. I should have done it. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? You're not a good test taker. You're not going to, it's not going to improve anything. And not one of the schools you're applying to is interested in them. So why are we paying for a tutor? Why are we then paying to take the test? Why are you sitting for 4 hours on a Saturday stressed about something that doesn't matter?
And stressing for weeks building up to it.
Yes. Like, it's just not worth it. Why are we doing this? I don't want to be in that rat race. And, you know, like, he can hear that, but then he hears all of his peers and everyone else saying, like, you should be doing this.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is the peers too.
The peers, and they're getting that message. Like, I have been to a number of, you know, parent meetings where, like, we sit there and the school presents one thing and the first hand that shoots up is, well, my kid is in 9th grade and is not taking an AP class yet. I find this, like, and I'm like, I don't want my kid taking a fucking AP in 9th grade.
The parents
like,
are the worst.
It's not appropriate. They should not be taking a college level class in 9th grade. They can't handle it. Why do you want that for your kid? They're freaking 13, for God's sake.
I wonder then if this is something I think is true in so many places. People are afraid to have their own thoughts and to be and to walk their own path. And something I've always thought to myself is, I have one kid that we can't walk everybody else's path. And what a blessing to have that kid go, yeah, I can't skin the cat that way. We got to find different sets of tools to skin this cat. I can't do it this way. So that's made me step out of the like stream of salmon swimming upstream and go, let me just sit over here on a rock for a minute and see and assess what's going on here. And I said the same thing to Georgia. You don't need to take the SAT. Everywhere you're applying to is test blind or test optional. Why would you take it? Yeah. That's a waste of time, energy, stress. I'm not even going to consider it. The overall population was, but just in case.
Yes.
But don't you want to know?
Just in case.
I don't give a shit what the SAT says, because I can tell you from my younger daughter, it has no indication of her intelligence whatsoever. None whatsoever. You know what it tells me? Whether you're good or bad at taking a test. That's entirely
and we already have that information at this point.
Right. Exactly.
And we do. Yes. And I can't remember ever taking a test in a job. Have you ever taken a test Well, like a pass-fail test, not filled out an application or a form, but taking a pass-fail test in a job. Maybe if you're in healthcare.
The only one that I've heard
accounting.
of recently was a friend of mine applied to be a bus driver. There's a national shortage of bus drivers.
I would imagine.
Kids are not able to get to school.
Wow.
And so she applied to do that, and she actually had to do like a series of sit for exams, like to actually sit for exams for the first time in like 30 years.
That's
or whatever.
crazy. Well, obviously, job specific. I would want her to take a test.
Yeah.
My accountant, I'd want him to take a test from time to time to make sure he knows what's going on, or some kind of way of him knowing he's doing things right. Lawyer, maybe.
Doctors sit for boards every once in a while.
Yeah. So that's very specific. But in the world in general, if you're going to be an auto mechanic, you don't usually take a lot of tests after you've graduated. So I don't know. I just said, I don't see there's any need for it. I think what you need to know about yourself is who you are, what you want. So we signed her up to take an aptitude test. So it's like, instead of an SAT test, let's take an aptitude test and see what you're naturally really good at. And then just keep that as a tool. You don't need to then go, oh, I'm naturally really good at medical field. Well, it doesn't mean you have to be in the medical field, but you can keep that in the back of your head. So when you start making decisions, you can go, oh, I'm naturally have a natural aptitude for this, whatever this is. And she was super excited about that test. It's like a full day test. And then you have like a follow-up, this is what we've discovered. I find that far more valuable
100%
than an SAT test. And I don't know why colleges aren't approaching admissions from some point of view like that too. Like, what are you good at? Well, then, and what are you highly interested in? You don't necessarily have to be really good at something to be highly interested in learning about that. But why isn't that the approach to college? Because if you're interested in what you're learning, you will excel, period. Right. You will figure out a way, even if you have a learning disability, you will figure out a way to learn that if you are interested in it. My dad barely got out of high school. He has like 5 different certifications as an auto mechanic because he was obsessed with cars. He loved it. He ended up teaching diesel mechanics at the local vocational school because it's what he was interested in, like serious D student in high school. D, barely got out. But so that means to me that we're going about this whole thing totally backwards. And a college counselor, in my opinion, should go about it backwards too. Who are you? What are you interested in? And then let's go down that stream. Maybe you're not swimming with the salmon. Maybe you're in a pond with a bunch of crappie. And crappie eat too. So you'll find something to eat over there. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I feel like they talk that game. Yeah. They talk the game of, oh, go to vocational school or go to a local community college first and then figure it out. But I don't think that's how they behave, right?
I agree.
They behave in a way where but just fill out the state school application just in case. You can do this other thing, but just in case. Panic, panic, panic. Just fill out the financial aid just in case. Panic, panic, panic. And it just doesn't need to be that way.
Well, it's because it reflects poorly on the school if they have fewer kids that go to 4-year colleges. If they get to brag that the entire class of 2022 went to a 4-year college, that's different than, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, or the line is they were accepted.
Yeah.
We have 100% acceptance rate.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean they're going. That doesn't mean like they
It's a bunch of load of crap. It's a load of crap.
Yes.
Where that should be concerning is in the local public high school. To me, that's where you should focus because there are so many kids there that need the advocacy. Not that you're going to take someone from a private school and put them in a public school. But I mean, really, I understand why there's more focus in that environment because there's less parent involvement in that environment, or less history of people in their generations going to college in a public school system. It's a lot less than it is private. If kids go to private school, they're pretty much going to college, I think. Is that an ignorant way of thinking about that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think it's I think that is the assumption, right?
That if you're going to private school, you're
going
pretty
to
much going to college.
college.
Yeah.
Or you have the option at least to go if you so choose.
Yeah.
So we're big right now on, I think actually Max is in a really good place because he's, you know, applying is one thing, but then you got to choose where you go. And I'm like, listen, you've changed schools twice in your life, actually 3 times in your life. You survived all of them. Like, it's no big deal. If you choose wrong, it's not the end of the world.
Absolutely.
Just like, it's okay. And then like, I think, cause he was like, well, what if I think I should go there because so-and-so is going there and he really wants me to go. And I'm like, you know what? But what do you want to do? I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I know. But relax. Like, it's fine. Everything is fixable. Like, it's not the end of the world if you choose the wrong school.
Absolutely.
We know plenty of people that have transferred after the first year and then graduated in 4 years like everyone else.
Yeah. It's way easier to transfer.
It's easier to transfer.
Yeah.
And if it's just not the right place for you, it's okay.
Yeah. Totally.
You may not know that today.
No.
You know, when we started this process, you were a different kid than you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen a lot of growth and change in him just over the past 3 months of applying.
Mm-hmm.
So who the hell knows what you'll be next fall?
Totally.
Yeah.
You know?
Same with Georgia. She's changed a lot.
Yeah.
In the fall. It's
senior
kind of
year
amazing.
is really interesting.
It is.
Right?
Yep.
It's very eye-opening. Like,
It is.
they are
Alarming, I'd say.
yes.
It's alarming in the speed with which they change.
Yes.
Is crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
Why? Why does it happen like that?
I don't know.
Really, why?
It is like
Cathy,
that.
you need to know why. Why? Tell me why.
It's like that developmental growth. Like, all of a sudden they wake up and they're 2 inches taller. They woke up and you're like, oh my God, you're a different human today. Like, what happened? Your brain just changed.
You can see their adult self a little bit,
a little bit more. Yeah.
And some of it's relieving and some of it's not.
It's terrifying.
Some of it is relieving. I go, okay, I can see that you probably would make it in college. Like 2 months ago, I'm not sure that you would make it at going to wherever you're going to go if you go out of state somewhere. But now I'm seeing, okay, I think this is looking good. Not sure I like it, but this is looking good. I can see that. And then sometimes, like Georgia is very independent. She doesn't even try to be very independent. She is very independent. And it's finals week. She's spirit chair for the school. So she's got all this stuff going on with like secret Santas for the whole school and these activities because it's the week before school's out. She comes in last night. I get an email from some bigwig at school saying that the athletic director says that Georgia hasn't turned in her golf uniform. And because she hasn't turned in her golf uniform, she can't take her finals. She has to have a clearance card, right? So I go, what's up with your golf uniform? And she goes, I turned it in. I don't know what's happening. So she comes home after school with her golf uniform. And I was like, what happened? She said, the athletic director said, my uniform has stains on it. So I need to get the stains out and then I can turn it in. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And she's like, I got it. So last night I go up, she's already asleep. I've been waiting to hear the washer. And at a certain point I went, I haven't heard her put anything in the washer. Let me go check on this golf uniform. I woke her up and went, what's going on with this golf uniform? Because today is the last day for her to turn it in to be able to take her finals. So she had to take it to school with her today. And she was like, oh, I washed it out in the sink and it's dripping dry. And I was like, I said, we have a washer dryer. She said, I just didn't really know how to deal with just one item in the washer. I was like, you wash a whole load and you put that item in the load. That's how you deal with it. And she goes, well, it has some stains on it. And I just thought I'd scrub it out by hand. I said, with hand soap? I said, athletic. Okay, just give it to me. So she gave it to me and I OxyCleaned all the stains. And then, of course, did a load of laundry. Mm-hmm. And I was smelling the laundry to see if she had turned it out and clean or dirty. It was disgusting. I could smell the armpits before I actually got it to my nose. And I thought, this is why the athletic director returned it. You turned in worn, dirty golf uniform. It was so gross. I swear to God, it would have stood up on its own. It was so dirty. So I washed and dried it and folded it and put it by the door last night. And she was like, did the stains go out? I said, no, but Georgia, the armpits smelled terrible. And she went, oh, that's not me. And I was like, well, who is it? It's your golf uniform. Of course it's you. I said, why didn't you wash it before you turned it in? She said, well, I just didn't think about it. And I'm like, oh my God, never mind. You're never going to make it in college. Who turns in dirty uniforms? Do you just assume they're going to wash them? I would be so embarrassed to turn in my dirty uniform. Right? So then I go, okay, maybe she's not entirely ready. She was trying.
They like growth happens at different rates. So certain things mature, some things not so much at the same time.
So the laundry part of her limbic system hasn't
quite matured yet.
Or maybe her olfactory is delayed because, buddy, you can smell it. I was like, wow, this is why she sent it home. She doesn't want this. Oh my God. That's not it. And I went, oh, that's totally it. That's it. 100%.
Oh, that's funny.
And then also today she had to turn that in and she needed to bring bagels for her journalism class. And I was like, she's like, I got to leave early. I got to leave like half an hour early. I got to go with bagels. And I went, why don't you just order them takeout and pick them up? You can do that? I'm sorry. You Postmate like a crumb and you don't think you can do that? You Postmate everything. Well, I just didn't think about it for bagels. You don't think they deliver bagels? They'll deliver ice cream. Come on.
And it's a pandemic. They've done pickup for like everybody who didn't used to do pickup does pickup now.
Yeah, everybody. So she was like, I just can't figure it out. It's just easier for me to just go order. And I was like, let me just order you a dozen, cut, cream cheese, just pick it up. Okay, thank you.
Especially this morning. Like,
yeah.
You know, Max has not ever driven in this kind of rain before.
Right.
It actually wasn't that bad when they went to school today. But when I got up, I was like, oh, crap. Like, this is a new experience for him.
Yeah, totally.
So,
yeah, she left early, very early.
They left super early today too. And he was like, no, it'll be fine. And I was like, Kirsten went 3 miles in 26 minutes. So you were leaving significantly earlier than normal. But
my kids were already gone by the time I got your text. They were gone. Georgia,
my kids have a later start because of finals, but
got it. No, this is our last regular day of school. And they have finals Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But Friday, they don't have any. It's their electives. So they don't have any. Although I don't know if Georgia might. But anyway, I had to laugh about that last night. I was like, maybe you're not quite ready for college. We'll see. Can't wait to see what that lacrosse uniform smells like. Because I bet you're a lot more active than golf. Just saying. Shoo.
Oh, boy. Oh, man.
So what are you doing? Are you doing anything to get in this river of salmon with Camille?
Yeah, well, her school is that's their thing. Their thing is college culture. So they've been pushing college since 9th grade. But it to me, it feels like a very laid back way. Like their thing is there is a right fit for everybody. Mm-hmm. So they try to express to the kids, like, don't get caught up in this idea of what you think college is. There are a gazillion different colleges and that go at different, there's just like a whole different thing. So yeah, I think Camille's thing right now, the reason that she was getting stressed about her grades is that seeing the seniors waiting for the acceptances to roll in right now and all of the stress with the seniors, she's always just been such an empath and she just absorbs the energy of the room, and the room per se is like her high school right now. Right, and so it's not coming from the college counselors or the teachers because her grades are just, she's doing better than ever. Like, but again, she's like a Georgia type student where she's not straight A student, but she has perfectly good grades. She will get into perfectly good colleges. Right. She doesn't want to go to Harvard. She's not aiming for that kind of thing anyway. She's going to do just fine. But I think it's just that she's absorbing the energy from her school of all the seniors running around like chickens with their heads cut off and going, oh my God, where am I going to go?
Right. Has Max gotten any acceptance letters?
Not yet.
No. Not yet, no. I don't know. Every school's different, right?
Yeah.
They all come in at different times. And
I think the first one we'll hear is February 1st.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why Georgia got so many then. Because we did not apply for early decision.
She must have like rolling admissions.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly.
She didn't apply to any place that has rolling admissions. That's
Got it.
why.
That's why. Okay.
So-
that makes sense.
And the place he applied early action, I don't think he thinks we find out December 15th, which is tomorrow, whatever. I don't think that's true though. I think he misunderstood because I think we won't find out till February 1st and then everything else will be March 1st.
I think that's
So-
got to be stressful on the kids too when they start
Yeah.
to see their friends
Mhm,
get
exactly.
get acceptances, and it makes you feel like left out in the cold
Mhm.
when really you didn't apply to those same
Right.
type of colleges. Yeah.
I don't know why it's not all just standard. Why
It's
can't it
so
all
much
just be the
easier.
same? Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That common app is brilliant. Why
Yeah.
can't every single college use the
Just
common
use
app?
that.
I don't understand. I understand maybe having a different supplemental essay, like a
Mhm.
different college wanting different types of essays. That's fine. But the application is pretty basic information, right? Like,
It was
what do
super
you like to
straightforward.
do?
Yep.
What do your parents do? What's your income? I mean, just do one and done. Maybe have to write 3 or 4 essays.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know why it's so complicated. Stupid school. I hate school. I liked school when I was a kid, but I don't know that I would like it now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot different.
It is a lot different.
It was a lot easier when I was in school. I don't know. Anyway. Well, we far overtalked our podcast time now that we I guess the French exit was just so short. But anyway, so we're reading Carrie. January, right? Sometime in January. Yeah, I guess that's it. The French exit. And we will exit with the French exit. Thank you for always reading with me. I appreciate it. I really do. I enjoy these talks. I enjoy
them too.
You do? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Because I really enjoy them. But we need to podcast about something that's not book related because I feel like the only time we podcast lately is for books. So what can we podcast about that's not books? Should we podcast about the Girl Scout meeting that we had last week? Look at you thinking about that. It was funny.
It was. Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should.
We don't have to say anybody's name. We can keep everyone anonymous, but it was an awesome. Let's not even talk about it now.
let's not
Yeah,
talk about
right.
it
Let's
now.
podcast
right.
about that. Let's do that because I think it was pretty. The whole badge we worked on.
Yeah.
Let's
Everything.
just do that because I think that whole badge was transformative for one kid or another, depending
At different points.
I
agreed.
think that one thing we did was really awesome. So let's do that.
We are awesome.
We are fucking amazing. Amazing. If only my body looked as good as I feel, I would be unstoppable. Right? Because I feel pretty much like I look like Elle Macpherson.
You do.
On the inside, I really do. Well, thank you very much.